Hello everyone, a very good evening. Hope you all are doing good. Can someone please quickly confirm if I'm properly audible?
Good evening,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Thanks. Okay, so I guess that's the first session after the quiz 2 exam. Any feedbacks for quiz 2 exam? How was it? Was it hard? Was it too difficult or was it too easy?
Yes, for me, it was a bit lengthy. The questions were a bit lengthy to solve.
Questions were lengthy, but what about the difficulty?
Difficulty was moderate. I was able to solve them, but it was taking time.
So compared to first test, it was moderate, balanced one.
Okay, that means the first one was not moderate.
No, it was there, but this was a little bit tricky.
All right, understood. Okay, great. Hope you would have hope. Yeah, yes, please, Joyce.
Yeah, so I found it this true or false questions bit confusing. So, like the programming part of the questions were okay, like I was able to do it, but the true or false, I mean the theory part of it, I found it really difficult. Like it was confusing.
Okay, the theory bits. I guess there were very few theory questions in this paper.
I think the last four or five questions were good.
Okay.
Yeah, very less theory question. That what made it easier. Like
Okay. So the theory was a bit difficult, according to you.
That's all.
Yes, sir. For me also.
So theory seems to be the difficult thing rather than programming. So this seems to be the reverse cases, what we generally see in other courses.
It's a programming seems to be easier. Yes, there is a logic. We know that what is going to work. But in case of theory, we need to read a lot more. Sometimes we need to remember as well.
Okay, all right. Thanks for all of your feedbacks. Hope you would have performed well in the quizzes as well. Hopefully the results will be out soon. Okay, so let us just get started with today's session. I think we can start. We have enough participants to start with. So what we are going to do in today's session is to basically experiment with the salary and Redis. So that's going to be the agenda for today's session. Since we are currently in week 11, I guess. So the salary part or this asynchronous framework was introduced somewhere in week 9 or week 10. We call the exact week. So may I know that how many of you have already finished watching those lectures that were related to asynchronous job execution?
So that was in week 8 salary part.
That was in week 8. Okay.
Week 9, sir.
Week 9. Sorry, week 9. Week 9.
It was
Sorry,
in
my
week
mistake.
9. We watched the week 9 lectures, but
Yeah,
week
she's-
10 and 11, I haven't watched any.
Okay. And how many of you have already started experimenting with the stuff that was explained or taught in week 9?
Not yet, sir.
Not it, sir. This week I'm planning.
Okay, let me put it this way. How many of you have a WSL installed in your systems if you are using Windows machines?
Sir, I'm having.
We're having. Is there anyone else in the session who already has WSL installed in case they are using Windows?
I don't have. I am yet to install WSL, but what Professor Nitin started with regarding salary, I tried it in Replit. It was working.
Okay. But yeah, I guess it could be worked out in Replit, but what we would recommend you to do is to install WSL in your system,
Yes.
because it would definitely be required for your project.
I'll be doing that in Ubuntu system.
Okay, so you'll be taking a different system for that purpose.
Yes,
So with
Ubuntu system I'll be
WSL,
doing that.
so with WSL for that API, we need to separately install that pip. It is not get installed with the Python. Then only you are able to execute that install.sh file and run sh file for the API one.
You need to
So
install pip separately. Where?
Yeah, actually in Windows it gets added with the Python itself. But in Ubuntu, I needed to install it separately.
Are you using a VM or what are you using?
I'm using Windows. On Windows, I install Ubuntu latest, that is 22.04 through Microsoft Store, and WSL separately through the command.
Okay.
Install WSL -- install.
Alright.
So
what
it
is
is
your-
installing Python.
What is your exact
2.
distro number? Your Ubuntu distro?
Sorry,
What is your Ubuntu distro?
distribution number.
Yes. Is it
It
20
is-
or 18?
No, it is 20, latest one.
The latest is 22. I think so.
But I selected 20 something.
Yes, for me it is
I will check.
20.04.4.
Just a moment.
Okay, all right.
Yes, so
So-
it is 20.04.
Yeah, 20.04 is fine.
Yeah,
That's what we'll
20.04.
recommend as well. Even if you are working with 18 point whatever it is, that seems to be fine. But yeah, it's better if you can get 20.0.
Yes, sir.
So whatever demonstrations that we'll be doing today, so that would require this WSL. So that's why I asked all of you that how many of you have that. So those who do not have it, they may probably watch this session and understand what we are trying to do here, and maybe try it sometime later, and do let us know in case you face any issues. Those who already have the setup with them, they can even follow in this session. That means they can code along with us. So ultimately today, as I have already mentioned, that we are going to work with Celery. And what is Celery? Celery is basically a asynchronous task framework in Python. Now, it can also be simplified as that it is a task queue implementation in Python. So what do I basically mean by task queue implementation? So yeah, I expect that most of you have already finished watching the lectures and would have understood whatever we are talking right now here. So would any one of you like to elaborate what this term means? That is asynchronous job execution. Anyone? Whatever you know.
Shall I try?
Yeah, sure.
So in synchronous execution, whatever the order of execution is there, that is what maintained. In asynchronous one, the dependency is there. So you wait for the what we can say, the earlier step to complete, then only you initiate the next step.
Okay, correct.
Yeah.
So that's entirely the purpose of using such frameworks. That means using asynchronous frameworks, where what you do is you just send a request and you forget. Right? After that, the processing will happen at a different place, and you will be notified by some mechanisms, that by using webhooks, emails, or whatever it is. So whenever you need to perform any intense computive task, instead of doing it on your main server, you should probably pass it on to your Celery system, so that it can be handled asynchronously, and so that your main server, your actual web server, is not overloaded to handle other requests. So that's entirely the purpose of using such frameworks. I guess there was a flowchart that was even explained in one of the screencasts, that how does this mechanism actually work, how a request goes from the actual application to the Celery system, and what all components are there inside a Celery system, and how do they coordinate with each other. I would just like to reiterate that over here once again. So I'll quickly share my screen, and I'll try to create a simple type of communication, that how all of it happens.
The salary itself is a message broker, or it uses a message broker separately?
It uses.
Okay. So
It is a
working
task
on
queue.
top of. Okay.
Okay, so okay. So I'm just, as I said, I'm just reiterating what was explained in the screencast. So let's say what we have here is we have a Flask application. A Flask application is running, which would be receiving some request from the users who are trying to access certain features or might be trying to do some more intense computation tasks. So what this Flask app would do, should do in such cases is, let's say we have one salary system in place. So this is a salary system. Now, how does a salary system will get to know that it has to execute a certain task, or how the Flask app will communicate with your salary system? Can someone answer? How the Flask app and this salary system are going to communicate with each other?
Using
Salary.
message queue.
Yeah,
Rabbit
correct. So they will be communicating with each other via a message broker. So I'm just creating that message broker here. So what will happen is that this Flask app will send request to this message broker. And how does this message broker will work is, so the salary system will have number of workers with it. So what we'll have is, let's say this is one worker. Two workers, let's say three workers. So the number of workers may be dependent on the number of CPUs the system has. So what will happen is, the moment this message broker receives something from your Flask application, so what it does is it delegates those tasks to these workers who are going to actually perform the computation that is required. So what will happen is that these tasks will be allocated, depending on which message broker is idle or which is capable of handling that task. So right now I have created three arrows here. That means there are three message workers. So of course it is possible that the application is sending multiple requests simultaneously. So this is quite possible. Let's say this application is sending n number of requests. And all of these tasks are being delegated to the workers depending on which one is sitting idle or which one is available to perform that task. Now, what will happen is that once these workers finish whatever computation that is required in order to execute those tasks, what will happen is there will be a backend. A backend where all of the results would be stored of the tasks which were just finished by these workers. So what these workers will do is, these workers will communicate their result to this result backend. This we also call as result backend. Anyways, so yeah, all of the results from these message brokers, sorry, not from message brokers, from the workers, they will be communicated to this result backend. And when the result backend has gotten those results, now it is up to you that how are you going to utilize those results. You can, simply flash those results on the, or communicate those results back to the Flask application once again and shows the appropriate message on the user screen on the UI. what you could instead do is maybe you can hit an API endpoint once that task has been completed. So that would act as some kind of webhook that you will be notified whenever this task gets completed, or maybe you can, with the help of webhooks, you can send messages to Google Chats, or maybe you can trigger some emails whenever certain tasks are executed. So this is basically what happens. So this is how a Celery system looks like. It has a message broker. It has certain number of workers who are actually responsible for performing those tasks, and it has a result backend. Now, there are two things, message broker and result backend. Now, both of these things are going to be Redis interface. We are going to use Redis database as a message broker. We are also going to use Redis as a result backend. Okay. So ultimately, in this course, we are using Redis for multiple purposes, two of which have already been shown in this diagram itself. Like we are using it as a message broker, as a message queue. We are also using it as a result backend. Maybe in the further lectures, you will see that we are using Redis for the caching purposes. So Redis has been used for multiple purposes in this course. Maybe you will get to know about it going forward if you have not watched week 11 lectures. Okay. So yeah, this is basically what is happening. So now, does anyone has any doubt in understanding the mechanism or the flow that is taking place?
Sir, can you please explain in case of message broker and in case of webhook, what will be the difference?
No, message
With
broker
web-
is what? Message broker is basically, a mediator between Celery system and Flask app. How a Flask app is supposed to communicate with the Celery system, how a Flask app is supposed to send some task, or send some task to Celery system. It is via message broker. It will inform message broker. It will put those tasks in message broker, and the message broker will delegate those tasks to the workers. So it has nothing to do with the webhook. Once these tasks have been executed by the workers, as I said, they will communicate it back to the result backend. And after that, once you know that the tasks have been completed, after that you can, decide basically that how are you going to communicate back those results to your client. So there are multiple options, like I mentioned, webhook. Maybe you can, directly send it to the UI, or you can even make the user wait till the entire computation is completed. So that's of course not one of the preferred ways. Of course, this could be done as well, but we won't be trying doing it. This is one of the ways. The other way is that you can even, notify the user or the client with the help of emails. So all sort of stuff can be done.
Means webhook may come in picture when you want to give back the result to the
Yes.
sender.
When you want to inform the client or the user,
Yes.
whoever had initiated the request, that your task has been completed.
Yes, clear. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, all right. So since we are going to use Redis for multiple purposes in our course itself, so let us just try to see that how does Redis work, as we have already read that it is basically an in-memory database. That means it can store data in the form of key value pairs. So I'll just try to open Redis console, and we'll see that what operations can be performed with the help of Redis. And after that, we'll see a small app, a very basic Celery system that can be constructed using Python. And after that, we'll integrate that in a Flask application. So this is what we are going to do in the today's session. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open one of the Ubuntu terminal. So those who don't have Ubuntu installed right now, they may follow this and try to understand what is happening. And those who already have the setup available with them, they may try or work along with the system. Now, okay, so there is one more requirement basically. Even if you have WSL installed in case you are using Windows, you also need to have one more thing installed, that is Redis. So of course, since we are going to use Redis, you must have Redis installed. So I'm not sure, Chandrasekhar, do you have Redis installed?
Not it, sir.
Okay, so you might need to install Redis before you get started.
Yes, sir. So sudo apt install Redis, that will work.
Yeah, I think you can do it. So
Okay,
if you can get installed.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do here is I'll just write Redis server in order to start a server here. Now, what this is going to do is, one second. Okay, so looks like it is already in use. So let me do one thing. Yeah, that means the Redis server is already running. So that's why it is saying that this port number is basically already in use. How do you basically make sure that your Redis server is running or not? You can just do redis-cli. If you get such type of thing, that means it is working, or you can even try pinging your Redis. That means you can just write ping and it should give you pong in return. So yeah, since I'm getting pong in return, that means my Redis server is active, it is done. Now, as I mentioned that we can basically work with key value pairs with a Redis data store. So what we can do is we can simply create key value pairs here. So in order to create one, we can use set command. So as you can see that it is also giving me a few of the hints here. That means set is basically a command. Now what I need to do is I need to provide a key. So let's say the key, it can be name, and let's say value. So value can be Abhi as of now. Right now, I'm not interested in setting the expiration for this key. Let us just leave it as of now. So what will happen is if I do it, I'll just press enter and it says, okay, that means such key value pair has been created in this data store. Now, how do I get to know that if this has been successfully created and how to basically read the value? So for that, we have get command. So again, it is giving me suggestions that after get, I can just use the key name, the value of which I am interested in to access in. So I'll just write name here and it should return me back Abhi. There, that's what I'm getting back. Similarly, what we can do is, let's say I'll create a few more key value pairs. Let's say place, Delhi. Similarly, let me create one more. Let's say age 22, things like that. Now, if I'll try to access all of these, let's say get place and get age, so I should be able to fetch their values that I have recorded. So yeah, I'm able to access all of this. Now, in case I want to, list down all of the key value pairs that have been created so far. So there is a mechanism for doing that. So instead, there is basically a mechanism for fetching all of the keys. So what I need to do is I just need to write keys and pattern. So I don't want to get into regex as of now. So what will I do is I'll just simply write this star, and this means that match all of the keys that are available currently. So if I'll just hit enter, it is going to show me that what all keys are basically present. So age, place, and name are three keys that are present in a data store currently. Not only that, if you want to just check, whether a certain key present in the current data store or not, you can simply use exists and you can provide the key name. So let's say key name is name. So since it is giving integer 1, that means, yeah, there is one key that is present with such key name. Okay, so this is the basic thing that we can do with the Redis data store. Like we can create new key value pairs, we can access those key value pairs which we have created. Okay, there is one more thing. We can basically set the expiries for the key value pairs that we are creating. So for that, what we use is we use the TTL command. So I hope all of you know that what does TTL mean. So that means time to live. So okay, instead of setting a TTL for one of the keys, let me just try to show you that what happens if we do not set TTL. So what is the by default value of this TTL for each key and key value pair that we have created. So let's say if I write name here, so TTL name. So what it is giving us back is -1. Can someone tell me that what can -1 mean here? Any guesses, any ideas?
It's infinite.
Yeah, infinite means this is going to persist every time until and unless it is deleted manually.
Yes, sir. Manual deletion is needed.
Yes. So even if I close this session of this Redis server and comes back, in that case also it is going to be active here. So similarly, what we can do is we can use this TTL in order to Okay, not actually TTL, the expire command in order to set the expiry for certain key value pairs. So what I'm going to do is, let's say I'll set it for age, and I need to specify that how many seconds this key is going to persist here, for how many seconds. So let me just say 10 seconds as of now. So what I'm saying is that a key named age should expire after 10 seconds. The moment I hit this command, it says, okay. Now, if I say get age, I'm able to get 22. If I enter this command once again, I'm getting 22. And see, since the 10 seconds have been elapsed, so you are able to see that there is no such key present in the data store right now. And now if I do keys start, so age is not present. Okay. So this is how you can set expiry with certain key value pairs. You can even specify this expiry while even creating the key value pair. So for that, what we can do is we can simply use set x. Again, let me create the same age. After that, I need to provide the number of seconds. So again, let's say 10, and the value is going to be 22. So yeah, it has been created. Now, if I'll say get age, it is saying 22. So after 10 seconds, it is going to show us nil. So yeah, the 10 seconds have elapsed. So what we are getting here is nil. All right. Is there anything else that we can do with Redis? Okay, so let me tell you about lpush or lrange as well. So what we can do is we can basically create arrays with the help of lpush command. So what does this require is, this require a key name. Let's say what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new key name, that is places. And for that, I'm going to provide a single value as of now. So I'm going to provide Delhi. Okay. Remember, we had one key value pair whose key name was place, but right now I'm creating a new key that is places, and the value that I'm providing to that is Delhi. Okay. Now I'm going to run this command again, and I'm going to say that I'm pushing Chennai this time, and one more time, and this time I'm saying this is going to be, let's say, Haryana. So it's a state, but anyways. So now what we have done is we have pushed 3 values in a single variable, that is places. So if we would have done that with the help of set command, so it would overwrite the values. But since we are doing it with the help of lpush, so what it is doing is it is basically creating a list kind of data structure, an array, and it is keeping a track of each and every value that is being inserted in this array. The array name is places. Now, how do we get to know that what all elements are present in this array places now? For that, what we can do is we can use lrange command. So lrange. So we need to provide the key name, what we want to read. So we want to read places. Now here we need to provide the starting index value. So since we are treating it as an index, we need to provide the starting and index, the stopping index value. That means where shall we start this reading from and where shall we end it. So let's say I'm going to start it from, let's say 0 itself. I want to start it right from the beginning, and I want to stop till last. So okay, let's say you want to stop till last. Let's say you are just doing simple string slicing in Python. How would you give the command to Python interpreter to give you all of the characters till last if you need to specify the stop index? Sorry?
Number of items in places, the length of it.
Hemant, you are trying to speak something, but I guess that is not audible. At least not
The
audible.
length of the array -1.
Correct. Yeah. So what we can do is we can provide a value called -1 here. So it should be picking up all of the elements that are present in this array and should be giving us a list. Okay, so you can see that Haryana, Chennai, and Delhi, these are the 3 elements that we pushed. Now there is one thing to notice here. The very first element that we pushed to this list was Delhi. The second element was Chennai. The third element was Haryana. But now, when I tried printing this list, so the very first element that it is dumping on the screen is Haryana. But that's the last element that we pushed. Can anyone guess why is it so?
It's a stack.
Okay, it's a stack. Anyone else? Okay, let me tell you. So see, the command that we used in order to push those elements was L push. Now here, what this L stands for is, it stands for left. That means whatever elements that we are pushing next, they are being pushed on the leftmost side of that array. So see, first we pushed Delhi. Now what will happen is Chennai will be pushed before Delhi. So let's say if Delhi had the index 0 initially. Now since we have pushed Chennai to the left of it, Chennai will get the index 0, Delhi will get 1. That means it will be moved towards right. Now after that we pushed Haryana. So Haryana will again be pushed at the leftmost position in that array. So it will get the index 0. And that's why it is being shown at first, since we were using L push. Now if we start using R push, that is of course right push. So for that, let's say push one more thing. Let's say I'm pushing HP here, and now you can see that the array size is 4. That means it has 4 elements. And now if I do L range, so I should be getting HP at last, and this order should be retained as it is. This is what I'm getting here: Haryana, Chennai, Delhi, and HP. Okay. Similarly, if I want to delete elements, I can use pop. Like I can use L pop, or I can use R pop. So let's say if I use L pop and key again is places. So can someone tell me that which element would be deleted now?
The last one.
Haryana.
Sorry, Haryana. Okay, all right. So yeah, that's correct. The Haryana should be popped as of now. So after that, if I'll again do L range, so I should not be getting Haryana in the list. So Chennai, Delhi, and HP is what I'm getting. So R, P, O, P. Again, if I do places, so this time I should be removing an element from the rightmost end. So this time the rightmost end value is HP. So I should be removing this HP from this list. And after that, if I try to range, so yeah, HP has been removed. So there are just 2 elements remaining in this list. Those are Chennai and Delhi. What else? Okay, there is one more thing called ln. So what we can do with the help of ln is we can find out that how many elements are stored in a certain key name. So for places, we have 2 elements remaining, so it should give us 2. But if I do place, so it is not allowing that operation, because what is a place? Place is basically a key that is holding a single element as of now. So ln is going to be used only for the arrays. All right. Okay, so there is one last thing that we can do with Redis is as of now. So right now what we saw is that we created key value pairs where key was a string, value was a string. What we do is we created key and the value was basically a list. We can even create dictionary-like structures here. So in order to create dictionary-like structures, is what happens is that you will basically have a key, and in the value to the key is basically a dictionary, right? And inside the dictionary itself, you will be having a lot of key value pairs. Okay, so that can actually be created using hset, I guess. Yeah, hset. So again, I would be creating a key here. So let's say the key is person. After that, I need to specify the first key value pair that is to be placed inside this key person. That means inside this dictionary. You can understand it like this as of now. So let's say for person, we are going to say the ID is 1. Similarly, name is Dev, and place is the Bihar. So what I have done is I have tried creating, or I have inserted 3 key value pairs in a single key, that is person. Now, how can I get a list of what all things have been inserted in this key called person? So for that, we can do get all. Okay, the very first thing we can do is get. So for that, we need to specify that which key we want to read and which field inside that key we want to read. So see, key here is the person and field here were ID, name, and place. So let's say I just want to read name as of now. Which should be given place and
Place should be person.
Sir, person name.
Yeah, should be person, and the next thing is name. So yeah, what I'm getting here is I'm getting Dave. Now, if I want to read all of it in a single shot, what I can do is I can say get all, and I need to provide the key name. So what is the key name? Again, it is place. So the type of output we will be getting is basically not in the form of a dictionary, but it will just be a sequential output, an output in a sequence. So we will
Sir, again, person.
Sorry. Okay, yeah. So this is how the output is being shown. So ID1 name dev place Bihar. So now we will have to interpret it like this, that the first two things are basically the first key value pair, the third and fourth elements are the second key value pair, the fifth and sixth element are forming the third key value pair in this key. So this is what you can do, and anything else that we can do? Okay, now the last thing is, again, let me do keys star. So it is going to tell us that how many keys exist in the current data store. So right now there is person, place, name, places. So there are 4 keys that are present. Now there is a command through which we can wipe out all of the data store that we have created so far. So the command for that is flush, I guess flush all. Yeah, it is flush all. So the moment we do that, everything has been removed or everything has gone. So now if I do keys star, I should not be getting anything. So it says empty list or set. That means there is no key that is present. So this was some basic stuff that we can do with the help of Redis. Just give me a minute. Let me try to close that. All right. So yeah, I have closed the Redis server. Okay. So yeah, this is some basic stuff that we can do with the help of Redis. Now, what we are going to do is we are just going to create a simple enough salary system through which we are going to execute some asynchronous tasks. Of course, those tasks need not be asynchronous because they will be quite easy tasks, but just to understand that how the setup works, how the configuration is to be done, we'll be trying to create a small application. So I'll just create one project for this. Okay, so maybe what I can do is I can create 2 folders. The next one is going to be Flask Salary. Okay, so I'll create the virtual environment in the root so that both of these projects can use that virtual environment. So I would be creating that virtual environment using my Ubuntu only this time. One terminal is already open, so I need to navigate to this place. Stop it. Okay, so those who will be using WSL for the first time, so you should also know that the Windows path would not work the same way as they work on Windows here. What you need to do is you need to make certain changes in the paths. So what happens is that whenever you install WSL, so basically the file system or your drive is mounted with this prefix. That means you need to use the /mnt that stands for mount in order to access your drives. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write it this way, C, and I'm going to reverse all of the slashes here. All right. So now I am inside this salary folder. So what I'll do is I'll create a virtual environment that we can use. I'll activate it. Okay. So now we will be installing the packages that are required. Which packages are going to be used? So one is going to be Flask, Salary, Salary with Redis. I think these two should suffice as of now, or is there anything else that we can use? Okay. Maybe we'll see afterwards. But it's just installing the entire stuff that is required. What will I do is I'll create a simple file inside simple salary folder, and let's say the name is tasks.py, and I'm going to write the program here through which we are going to understand that how the salaries work. So the very first thing we'll be doing is we will be importing salary here. Import salary. We can create an object. So let's say CEL equals to salary. So we need to give it a name, just like we give our task application a name while creating an instance of it. So let's say I'll just say my task or something like that. Apart from that, we need to fill in some configuration. As when we started the session, so we started it with a small communication flow chart where we saw that a salary system uses two things. One is the message broker, that is going to be Redis in our case. The other thing is the result backend, that is going to be Redis in our case as well. There are workers that, of course, we'll be starting while starting this salary application. So there are basically two things that we need to define. One is broker URL. So can someone tell me that what is going to be the broker URL? Any guesses? So it is going to be Redis. Means both broker and result backend, they both are going to be Redis in our case. Meanwhile, let me just see that the packages have been installed. Yeah, they are. And the other thing is backend. Okay, so it is basically going to be Redis. And we need to specify IP address on which it is running. So it is running it on localhost. I can specify the port number as well, but by default it would be taken as 6379. So I would just leave it as it is. In case I'm running Redis on a different port number, then it becomes mandatory for me to specify the port number as well. So, all right, I have created the salary instance here. Now, after creating a salary instance, what we can directly do is we can start creating tasks inside the salary. So for that, just like we use route decorator in order to create endpoints in a Flask application, in the same way, we use tasks in salary in order to create multiple tasks. So it works the same way. Once you have created this or mentioned this decorator, you just need to create a function. So let's say I would say task 1. And this task is, let's say, going to do certain things. What can it do is, maybe it could just print, let's say, hello world. So a small enough application, what it is doing is, it is simply printing hello world on the screen, on the output console. Okay. So any issues till now, whatever we have done so far, we have just written minimal configurations and a simple enough, a simplest task ever. Is there any confusions, any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Okay, great. So now we are here. We need to navigate to the next directory, that is simple salary. So now we are here. We are already in the virtual environment. So now it comes to that, how do we instantiate this salary system? So for that, we have to use this command, that is salary -a. After that, we need to specify the file name where the configurations have been made. So since there is just one file, we can say tasks, and we can even provide the reference to which object we are basically referring to. It is CEL in our case. After that, we have to specify the worker so that it can start worker. By default, it is going to start the number of workers depending on the number of CPUs that I have in my system, my machine. Is there any other thing? Okay, we can even set the log level, like what type of logging is required. So there are basically multiple logging levels, like you would know, debug, info, warning. The default level is, I guess, warning. So these levels are decided based on how critical the log messages or the error messages are. So we generally use info, and we get enough information with this debug, with this log level as well. In case you want to set it to debug, that is even fine as well. Yeah, I guess that's it. So this is the command that we will be running in a terminal. So salary -a, we need to provide the reference to the object, then worker, so that it can start a few workers to take up those tasks. And after that, the logger. So instead of specifying it L, of course, you can even specify ~log level as well. That is okay. So now, okay, for that, we also need to have Redis running. So I will need to create multiple terminals. So I have opened 3 terminals. Let's see how many of them would be used. I'll just copy this address, paste it in others. cd-mtc, we are here at salary. I should be copying this command. Should be pasting it here. Anyways, it's okay. So we are here. What else we need to do? We also need to activate the virtual environment. I guess that is one folder up. Wait. Guess we need to go to salary level. Yeah, so we should be doing it here only. Source env activate, and here also we should be doing the same. Okay. Now once it is activated, now we can move to the next folder, that is simple salary, I guess. Yes, it is. Similarly, I can move here as well in the other terminal. Okay. So now I have 3 terminals which are active here. 1, 2, and 3. I just minimize all of them. So the very first terminal I would be using in order to start my Redis server. So in order to start my Redis server, I would use a command redis-server, and this will start a server. You can read that the port number here is 637. Once it is started, what I can do is I can start my salary system. So first that I need to write the command that I just wrote in the tasks.py file. So for that I'm writing salary-a task. Even task is enough, but it's okay if we can even provide the reference to the entire object. After that, we need to specify worker, and let's say the logging level is going to be of info level. So all right, so you can see that the salary system has loaded up, and it is saying that we currently have just one task, that is task 1, and that you can even see here, that is task 1. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is the same that was demonstrated even in the lectures as well. I'll just open a Python console and I'll try to send some of these tasks to my salary. Before that, I'll just try to execute them in the Python itself. So I'll just open a Python terminal, and I hope you understand that this task 1 is basically a task that we understand as well, but it is also a function in Python, right? This is how we basically create functions in Python. We use def keyword, and after that we write the function name, any parameters that it takes, and after that we write the definition or the implementation for a function. So this is a Python function as well. So what we can do is we can even treat it as a simple Python function. The name is test1. So what will happen? Let's say if I'll say, or so instead of printing it, maybe I should say that it is returning a value. It would actually be better. For that, I need to start my salary application once again, since I have made a few changes. Okay, it has booted up once again. I'll just move out of it once and enter again. So now what I'm saying is that let's say I have a variable called a, and I'm just trying to get what this task 1 is returned. I basically need to say that from tasks import star. And after that, if I say a equals to task 1, so can someone tell me that what will happen if I try to print a here?
That is hello world.
Yeah, it is just going to show me what is being written by this function. So that is only a simple message, that is hello world. So if I'll show a here, then this is saying hello world. So of course, that's how you basically treat Python functions. That's how you call them. But now, since we are working with salary here, we need to pass this function to salary and ask salary to execute this function asynchronously. For that, what we will be doing is we'll say A equals to task1 dot delay. So we will be using this delay function in order to send task to Celery. Right now, you can see that the Celery terminal is almost empty. There are just these 4 lines which are usually shown when the Celery system is basically started. The moment I'll try to execute this statement, this is going to send this task, that is task1, to the Celery system. And this is not going to immediately provide me the result. That means if I try to print A, it is not going to provide me the hello world. It is going to provide me something else that we'll see. So if I hit enter here, you can see that nothing happened. But if you will come back to your Celery terminal, you would see that it has received one task and it has also successfully completed its execution. And the value that the task had returned is was hello world. But if I'll come back to my Python terminal and I'll try to print A, do you think I should be getting hello world here? What do you think? What should be the output if I print A, if I log the value of A here?
It should be hello world now.
Should be hello world. So see what happens. This is basically an object of async result class. Okay. If we need to find out what the output was, so for that we need to use get method. Now, if I do a.get, I should be getting what that function had actually returned. So now it is saying hello world, or maybe wait should also. Yeah. So a.get and a.wait. Apart from that, there are some other statuses that you can use as well, like, okay, that's a status itself. So it is going to tell you that whether your task is pending or it has successfully completed. So if I'll say a.status, it is saying that success, that means it has been completely executed. A.ready. So it is going to tell you a Boolean value that whether it is ready or not. So it should be giving us true. So yeah, these are all of the things that you can basically perform on this object that you are getting, that is async result. So a.get, it is going to tell you what the function had returned. A.wait, same thing. A.status is going to tell you whether the function is in pending mode or it has completely executed. A.ready is going to again tell you that whether it is ready to give out the output. Okay, so this is what can happen. So just like we used delay here, similarly we can use one more thing, that is task1 dot apply async, and for that we can specify one parameter, that is countdown. So what this countdown says is that whatever value that will provide me, I'll consider that value in seconds, and I would be sending this task to the Celery system after these many seconds. So let's say if I specify 10 here, so this task will be executed after 10 seconds. So if I say 10, and yeah, so see, it has come here. See, it has received the task, but again, it is not executing it. The reason is that we have said that you have to wait for 10 seconds before executing this task. So after the 10 seconds would be over, it should be giving us the result back. You should get it is success. Has it stuck? Let me see. I'll just send it once again just to check if it is stuck. Yeah, I guess it is stuck. I'll just restart it. Yeah, so you can see that it received the task, it executes it. After that, I sent it one more time. So it says that it received one more task and it executed it in these many seconds, and the output it returned was hello. So this is how you can delegate tasks to your Celery. Right now, it is a simple enough function that is not doing any computation at all. But remember, we are talking about cases when these functions are doing computive intensive tasks that requires much processing power, and it basically makes sense to basically delegate these tasks to some other system instead of performing them all on the main server itself, on the main system. The implication would be that the main server will slow down. And ultimately, the web application or the website will become unstable. Okay, so this was a simple enough thing. We just understood that how the salary is working. How do you basically send those tasks to the salary system? How can you add some countdowns so that the salary system knows that this task has to be executed after these many seconds or these many minutes or whatever it is. Now I'll just close this as of now.
Sir, I'm having doubt.
Yeah.
So before closing this, async result is an object.
Yes, it is an object.
And whatever this number is written in front of this,
It
is
is
this
the job
specific
ID.
ID or job ID?
It is a job ID.
And can you please go to salary pledge, salary terminal?
Yes.
So this is a seconds, that is at what time it is generating this hello world. Before hello world, the colon, this big number is there, 007956. In the end, it is having
That is the
written
number
yes.
of seconds, the number of seconds it took in order to execute this task.
Okay.
Talking about this one, this and which is coming to the second one.
Yes, yes,
These are the number of seconds that were taken.
Okay. Since it is boot up.
0.003, that means around 3 milliseconds. Okay, all right. So I'll just close this salary from here as well. So again, this was a quite simple demonstration that how a salary system can be built. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to create a Flask application, and once a user will hit certain endpoints, then we will be triggering these tasks. So right now, what we did is we manually triggered all of those tasks. We told salary that we are sending you this task, please execute it and get us back the result. But now what we are going to do is we are going to create endpoints, and when the user will hit those endpoints, then these tasks would be automatically sent to a salary system. Okay. I am not closing any other terminal because everything would be required once again. So the simple salary is, I guess, that's it. Or maybe what we can do is maybe we can talk about scheduled jobs as well. So if I can show you salary periodic tasks. Python docs. Yes, this is the one. Okay, so we can use this as well. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to just add a few scheduled tasks. Okay. That means which need not require any manual intervention. They will be triggered automatically after a certain time period that we can configure. And for that, I will just copy this. Everything else has already been done. So I'll just paste them here. I'll comment it as of now. Let's say I'll comment this as well. So what we need to do is we first need to change this app to CEL. We need to change this function name to what we have in our program, that is task1. It does not require any argument to be sent, so that is okay. The name of this periodic task is add every 10. So instead I would say after every 10 seconds, something like that. Yeah. So what's going to happen is what we were doing previously is we were opening a Python interpreter and we were using either delay function or apply async function in order to send this task to the salary system. Now, once we initiate salary, after every 10 seconds, this task, that is task 1, is going to be automatically sent towards salary system, and it is going to be executed without any manual intervention at all. So for that, again, the Redis server, I guess, is already running. I will start this salary. So there is going to be one problem that we'll discuss now. So I have again, run the same command, that is salary-a task.cel worker-l info. So it is going to again load up with the configuration that we saw before. Here it is. So what is happening here is the system has loaded up, but it is not receiving the tasks that we have basically automated here. So we have said that after every 10 seconds, this task should be sent to salary system, but it's not happening. Can someone guess what's the reason? It's still idle. Any guesses? Okay, how many of you have watched the screencast for configuring scheduled tasks or periodic tasks? Okay, all right. So what basically happens is that whenever we configure any scheduled or periodic task, we need to use one more thing, that is salary beat. Right? Salary beat in order to start receiving the periodic task by the salary system. Otherwise, it won't happen automatically. You need to basically start salary beat before you start your salary system. So what I'm going to do right now is I'll just close this and I'll start salary beat instead. So for that, I would be using the same command, that is salary-a. I would be using the command called beat. And after that, we need to specify one parameter, that is max interval. Now this max interval is that after how much time this is going to check that if there is any task that is to be executed or not. So let's say I'm going to set it to 1. And the log level, again, I'm setting it to info. What happened is, okay, I guess it does not need equals. Okay, so no such option, next interval. Let me see. Okay, so that is not required. Okay, let me try running it once again. So it was next interval. What's the issue with that?
I'm just guessing, but you have not
Sorry.
specified the application name. I mean the instance name.
Oh, okay, okay. That part is
So after A, I think you should.
tasks.cen. Okay, that's what was the meaning. Okay, it is starting. So let us just wait for a couple of more seconds to see if it starts as well. All right, so you can see that it sends out the first task, that is task.1. It is basically the description that we have given after every 10 seconds. So it has been sent twice. We'll just wait for one more task, and after that we'll revert back to the salary terminal and see that how many tasks have been. Okay. So what we have done is we have started this salary beat, but I have not started my salary. So the moment I'll start my salary, so it is instantly going to execute multiple tasks because there are many tasks which are already in the queue. So I'll just execute that command. Salary A tasks worker L input. See, it booted up and see it received so many tasks 1, 2, 3, 4, and it executed all of them at once. Still, it is receiving tasks. So it said received, it said succeeded. So it is sending the task after every 10 seconds and it is receiving all of those tasks and executing. Right? Okay. So this is how you can even add periodic tasks. Let's say you want some task to be executed after every hour or maybe every day at some particular time. So you can do all of that stuff with the help of the periodic tasks. So I'll close this salary beat and my salary system as well. So see, one thing that will happen is that whenever you will instantiate your salary beat, so there is some kind of internal file would be generated in your folder that is salary beat schedule. So this is one indication that your salary beat has started. Similarly, if you would see the other things, the second one, so this task would be executed after 30 seconds. The comment already is here. And now, if you want to, schedule some task like at a particular time on a particular day, so you can make use of cron tab. So with the help of cron tab, you can specify that at what time, maybe in a day or maybe on the first day of every month, on the 365th day of the year, you can configure task in such manner with the help of cron tab. For example, what this says here is that the hour is 7, minute is 30, and day of week is 1. That means it is going to initiate this test task at 7:30 p.m. In the first day of every week. Okay. So 7:30 a.m. In the first day of every week. So since there are approximately 4 weeks in a month, so this task is going to be executed at 7:30 a.m. Right in the first day of that week. So you can basically read about this cron tab and you can configure according to your requirements. For example, in your project, you are required to send monthly reports. So what happens is that you have to send those reports on the first day of every month. So this is what you can make use of here. That means you can use cron tab and you can specify whatever hour minutes you can select, or you can select day of month to be 1. So this is what you can simply do in order to configure such tasks. All right. So is there any confusion in periodic tasks in configuring these?
No, sir.
Okay, you learned about cron tab there. All right. So maybe if you want to go through the documentation, you can do that as well. So it gives you quite a lot of examples to understand that what all things you can set. For example, this one. So that means it is going to do it after every 3 hours, after every 15 minutes. So every Sunday. So yeah, these are different examples that are given here for your understanding. Okay. So maybe I can just share this link in the chat. Okay, all right. So I hope this thing is clear that how to set up a basic salary system and how to configure periodic tasks. Now I am going to close this simple salary and I would be working with Flask salary. That means we would be integrating salary in a Flask system. So for that, let's say I create one file. Again, I would create tasks.py file. And for that, I'm going to just refer to one documentation, that is Flask salary documentation. You don't need to remember all of the configurations that how are those being done, as you can always get them from documentation. one, okay. So I'll just copy this code and I'll paste it here. So what this is doing is this is basically configuring salary, and it is returning an object of salary. So what we need to do is we need to call this function from our main application, right? Wherever we are creating a Flask application. So let's create a simple enough Flask application again, and let me create app.py file. So here, what I would say is from Flask. Import Flask. After that, I'll create an instance of it. Have we imported salary here? Yes, we have. Okay, so after the instance has been created, what can we do is, so we basically have to import this file here so that we can call this function make salary from app.py. So what would I do is I would say from tasks import make salary here, and we have to do some configurations update, because if you would look at this task.py, what it is saying is that the salary configuration is dependent on the configuration of your app variable. Okay. So what we need to do is we basically need to write down some value for this flag, that is salary config. So in order to do that, I'll just again do an update for this application object. So the flag that we need to update is salary config. Salary config, and it is supposed to be a dictionary, I guess, dictionary. Yes, it is going to be a dictionary. So there are basically two things again that we need to specify, that we specified in the simple salary as well. One was the broker URL, the other one was the result packet. So it is going to be broker URL, that is going to be Redis and all. And result packet. So now can someone tell me that what's going to the value for these two flags, broker URL and result backend? Anyone?
So again, localhost.
Yeah. Again, it is going to be the same configuration that we used last time. Localhost, again, I'm leaving out the port number. That means the by default 6379 would come into play. Okay, so localhost here. And now what would I do is I would call this function. So let's say I'll get this variable and make salary, and I'll pass app. And now what I can do is I can create my endpoints. So let's say app.route, and maybe define function for these. Let's say what these functions do. Maybe they can just print some message that entered index function, and we are going to basically write some salary tasks that we will be calling from here, from this endpoint. So for that, what would I do is I would make use of this salary variable that I have gotten from this make salary function that has returned, and I would create some salary tasks. So let's say I'll create salary task. If I want, I can even give them the name. Right? Previously, if you were seeing in the terminal where the salary was running, so it was saying this task.task1. So instead, what it would do is it would basically tell you that what the name of that task is, if you will specify the name. So let's say the name is going to be simple task, something very simple. And here I would do task1 again. And what can this return is let's say I'm going to import random. This is just going to return a random number. return random dot randint 1 comma 100. So this is what is going to be returned by this salary task, and we will be calling this salary task from this endpoint. So can someone tell me how can I call it? Again, we saw it in the simple salary demonstration, that how can you send tasks to salary system. Anyone can tell me that how can I call this task here? How did I call this task in the Python console? I hope I am audible at least.
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay. Okay, no issues. So let me tell you that we made use of two functions. One was delay, the other one was apply async in order to send these tasks to salary system. So let's make use of let's say delay here as of now. So what would I do is I would say task one dot delay. Since this function is not accepting any parameter, I don't need to worry. So what this basically returns is this returns an object of async result class type, or instead the job ID. So what I'm going to do here is I will just say return job ID. And along with that job ID, maybe what can I do is, let me create a string here. Let's say job ID plus let's say result. It is going to be job ID dot. Can someone tell me how can I fetch the result? Anyone? How did we do it last time in the Python console?
So that function name we wrote there.
There were two functions. One was get, the other one was wait. So maybe I can make use of get as of now. Okay. So what we want to show on the screen is as soon as the user visits the home endpoint of this application, what is happening is what all two errors are. Line
That
number.
did not be.
Salary config equals to okay. Okay, so can someone tell me that if I have written this thing at the correct place, at the suitable place? Can you guess if I have written it at a suitable place in my program?
It shall be above app.
It should be above app, is it?
equal to class. Yeah.
But if the app is not even created, how can you write it above app?
Sorry.
So the thing is that you need to write it before calling this salary function or make salary function, because what this make salary function is expecting is that it would get this salary config from this app variable in order to configure salary. So we should be keeping it at this place. But session is not closed. Oh, okay. That's the issue. So we forgot that we are basically creating a dictionary here. So it should be column. Okay. All right. So we have updated the configuration. Broker URL and result backend is what we need. We have called this make salary function. So this should return as the salary object, and we are using it in order to create tasks. So whenever the user is going to visit this, what I say, endpoint, that is the slash endpoint or the home endpoint, this task is going to be triggered and we are going to get some result. Let's see that if there any error that comes up. Again, let me see if the Redis server is active. It is active. I need to start my salary. This time I don't need beat. So I would just leave out beat. So I would say salary A tasks dot. Okay. The very first thing we need to do here is, firstly, we need to navigate to the correct folder. Right now we are in simple salary and we are writing code in Flask cell. Okay. So we will first get into Flask salary. The same thing we'll do with the other terminal as well. Flask salary. Okay, so once we are here, we will be calling salary again the way we were calling it before. So this time salary hyphen a tasks dot cel. So do you think this requires any changes? This tasks dot cel, the reference to the object. Do you think that it requires any changes?
The
Yes,
function
it
name
does.
that we used in .py should be app.salary.
Exactly. It's supposed to be app.salary this time.
So there is
Salary.
E.
Salary. Okay. Worker and LP. All right. So this should start up. But it has not started up yet. So we'll just wait for a couple of seconds to see if this is spawning up correctly. Yeah, there is an issue. The issue is that tasks. What was?
It should be task or tasks.
Where are you seeing it?
Somewhere it is mentioned in the first line. It's a tasks.task1. I thought that would be the issue.
Receive unregistered task of type tasks.type. Where does this task one come from?
The task is from the earlier application, no? That is in simple. Okay, here also there is a task.
Command that I ran was app.eval salary worker and info. Let me see. So selfie is here.
I think you have only important tasks. I mean, you are using task one, but you are not importing it from
This task.
line number 17. task one.
The task one is defined here. Task one is coming from here. Let me try removing this name. App.salary. We are at last salary folder. Started up. Not sure exactly what was the issue. Okay, so there is one more thing that I missed out writing was name equals to main, then I should be this application set this debug attribute equals to true. Anyways, I have to restart my salary. Okay, it is fine. Now, what will I do is I'll just start this Flask application in the other terminal, and after that I'll access the home endpoint on the browser and see what is the output that we are getting. App.py. It has started. Okay, let me just return back to the implementation once again. What do you think? What should be the result that I should be getting on the browser screen once I hit this endpoint? Any guesses?
So that is job ID and the result, the object.
Do you think that there is a chance of any error?
No idea.
Okay, let us see.
Take to 1 to 100.
Let's just try to hit this endpoint and see if the error comes up. So the error is can only concatenate str to str. So I hope you should be able to get the hint now. That when we were trying to get this job ID, you would have seen that it was basically an object of type async result, right?
Yes.
So what you are
yes.
doing is you are trying to just concatenate it with a string. That is not correct. So what we need to do is we need to convert it into a string. So what would I do is I'll just say this. I hope my Flask application should have restarted. It is. Now if I'll refresh this. Okay, so I need to restart my salary as well. App dot task one. Are we writing there? Task one dot. Okay, that is fine. So is the application also restarted? Let's restart it as well. So this time we should be getting the appropriate result. Again, main.task1 is the issue. You remember to import the module containing this task, or maybe you are using the related inputs. You can register task of type main.task1. Message has been ignored. So what is happening here? If I just do this. Job ID is not defined. Okay, let me see. Section. So salary.task. It is saying that this task is registered here as well. Received unregistered task of type main. We will just try using this. Sure, it will improve, but let us just try. It's the same. Okay, so maybe I'll just maybe I can just refer to documentation once. Yes, I copy pasted this code exactly same. So I think this is what we have done. Selfie flask app. This is how we created an object. Create local URL. Update. Salary. Pass the app variable here. Just comment out this. See if the salary task is working or not. Okay. So from app import star. After that, I'll send task one dot relay. Receive the task. Even generated the result. That means there is some issue with class configuration. Let me try out one thing. So instead of doing it here, we create the object. So the name is going to be my tasks, and I'll specify again those things. Broker is to be something. Okay.
There is a typo in progress.
Now I'll create this task here. Task. Now I'll hello, am I audible?
Yes, Abhishek.
Okay, how long I was not audible?
Just
I
a
got to
minute.
know that. Sorry.
Less than a minute.
Okay. Just got to know when the Zoom window pops up. I got to know. Okay, I got disconnected. Anyways, I'll start sharing again. So I was making certain changes. I'm not sure if you would have seen those changes. So what I was doing is I was just separating salary part.
Yeah, there is a typo in progress. Line
There is a
number
typo in.
4. Line number 4. The previous file.
Okay.
Line number 4.
Broker, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I have created this tasks file. Here I would be, writing all of my salary tasks, and this file it would be for my class independently. So I don't need this salary task here. So instead, what would I do is I would write import tasks remove this import random from here also. Here, I would say tasks dot task one dot date. Here I have imported random, so it should. Let me see if this works out. So it is not going to be app.selby now. It is going to be tasks.ce. It has loaded up and it is saying that tasks.task1 as well. So I guess it should work fine this time. Just exit from here and start Python application. Can only concatenate. Okay. Okay, meanwhile, start it up. So this time we should be able to at least see it. I'll just freeze. Okay, so what it is giving us is result is 55. This time we are getting 55, but the next time we'll run this application once again. So we should be getting a different number because it is ultimately a task, which is returning any random number in range of 1 to 100. So I sent this task multiple times. So if you will look at the terminal for this salary, so you would see that there are many tasks which are received by the salary system, and they all got succeeded in these many milliseconds or seconds, and this is what is the result that was written by each of them. Now let us just try to make it a little bit more interesting. So what we would do here is, let's say we would have some sleep here. Let's say it would import time and time.sleep. Let's say I would have a sleep of 5 seconds here. And now I can even import the job ID. str job ID. And it is basically returning us some number. I'll again restart both of these things. Yes, this has started, and this application is started as well. Now, if I will click on this refresh button, what do you think? What is going to happen? Any ideas? So this is the code. For each request to this endpoint, this is going to create a task one. And this is what task one is doing. It is just saying that sleep for 5 seconds, and after waiting for 5 seconds, just returns.
Any random number between 1 to 100.
So if I click on refresh, the very first thing it will do is it will wait for 5 seconds to get the result. So it will wait for 5 seconds. For 5 seconds, it will keep loading. And after that, what will it? There is no space between. It's okay, fine. So see, what we are getting is job ID and the result. Now again, if I'll click on refresh here, you would see that it will take 5 seconds again and will load the new result for us. So 71, this is the number that would change. And of course, the job ID as well, since it's a new task that is dedicated. So the number of times I'll click on the refresh button, the same number of times the result would be refreshed again and again. Now, we would just try to include a few of the flags here. So since we are saying that it is basically waiting for 5 seconds. Now here, what we would do is, we can check that while job ID, let's say, is ready. So while job.ready, if it is ready, it will return true. If it is not ready, it is going to return false. So we should put not here. If it is not ready, what we are going to show on the terminal is, let's say we can show some value that the task is still in progress. Okay, so this is what you're doing. We are saying that the task is still in progress until the status of this job ID doesn't become true. That means it is not executed completely. But we also need to provide some increment or which this while loop can somehow end. So let's say what we can do is we can add a sleep here as well. Let's just sleep of 2 seconds. I would import time as well. Okay. So now again, if I restart all of these, okay, it is started. Similarly, I'll start this app.py file as well. So ultimately, it is not going to do anything fancy, but we will be just getting some updates in the terminal. So I just clicked on refresh. So if I look at the terminal, so it is saying the task is still in progress, task is still in progress, task is still in progress. So it said, it says it for 3 times, and after that, it gave us the result. Why? Can someone tell me why?
Before
There's a delay.
first time slave, one print is getting done. Then after that 4 seconds, 2 print will be done. But after that, the job will be executed.
Yeah, but there is, we are getting this message thrice. If we look at the terminal.
Yes, thrice. That is what I told. Before first time dot sleeve, 1 print will be done. Then
Okay.
after that, 2 time dots, 4 seconds, there will be 2 times it will be done.
Correct. Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah. So this is how you can basically even update the users as well, right? For example, instead of this print, you might have some, even a different salary task that is running, that is repeatedly sending messages to the user stack that this is basically the progress, right? Something like that. Now, what we could do is, if the time permits, okay, so it's already 10. What we could quickly do is we can basically add a webhook. That means whenever this task is completed, we can show some message here, definitely. But whenever this task is done, what we can do is we can trigger a webhook call from here as well. So has anyone of you tried using Google Chat's webhooks before?
No, sir. I tried with GitLab.
Okay, you have tried with GitLab. So let me do one thing. I'll just try it with the Google Chat webhooks. So we don't need to write a lot of code because we'll get each and every line of code from the Google Docs. Sorry, not from Google Docs, actually Google Developers Docs. So it's Google Chat webhooks. It explains you each and every step that how does this mechanism work, and also the steps that are required in order to make it happen. So I'll just copy this code and I'll write it somewhere in my task.py file. I'll create a task, let's say define cell.task. Webhook. And after that, it does this thing. So what it does is it has a URL, that is the webhook URL. After that, this is the message that is going to be sent. Message header that says it is application JSON. It creates an object. It creates the request, and then it simply sends that request and prints the response. So it is using this dumps here. So that means you also need to use these two imports. These two imports. So that means this library has to be installed as well. If you want, you could even do it using Python request library as well. Ultimately, you just need to make a request, but they have given example using http lib2. That could also be done. So what would I do is I'll install one more thing, that is http lib2. Okay, this has already been installed. All right, now this library has been installed as well. So what we need to change here is we of course need to change this webhook URL. So in order to change this webhook URL, I need to basically create. So just give me a minute. I'll just stop sharing. I need to open chat space for one of the accounts. Okay, I hope my screen is now visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what would I need to do here is I need to create a space first. So let's say I'll just create a space, let's say with name testing itself. Create space, let's say testing. Description is I'll just leave it as it is and I'll create. If you want, you can add as many as members in a group space. Okay. After that, what will I do is I have to configure a webhook for this space. So I would go here. Here you would see an option of manage webhooks. You basically need to create a name for your webhook. So let's say this is going to be first, something like that. If you want, you can even put a avatar URL. You can get online avatars from somewhere online. Online avatar, and you can basically get those URLs. I'm right now leaving it as it is, so it would be using some default avatar that it generally uses, and I'll just say save. So once it is saved, it is going to give me a URL, so that I'm going to copy from here. So I'll just copy this URL. So you can see that this is the default avatar that is used for a webhook. I'm going to simply paste it here. And this text message, let me just leave it as it is, or maybe we can say, hello, this is a webhook demonstration, something like that. Okay, so this is the URL that we need to hit. This is the message that will go inside the message body. We are setting some headers as well. After that, we are basically creating a request and we are sending that request. Okay, and we are simply printing that response here. So this is basically a function called main. So this is a function named web_hook, and this is also a salary task. So instead of having it as a salary task, let us just have it as a simple Python function. And what we will do here is, so before returning this, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to call this function. So let's say web hook. So when I'll make a call to this function, of course, you would know what is going to happen. It is going to send a request and it's going to do something. I guess this is the only error because it is not able to recognize. Everything else is fine. Okay. So I would restart everything once again. I'm restarting salary. So it is started. I would start my Flask application as well. Okay, it is started as well. Now I'll go to browser and I'll hit this enter. So I'll hit this. This is going to wait for 5 seconds. And it gave us this result. And after that, if I will go to my webhook or the chat space that I created, I would see that I have received one message here from the chatbot, that whatever message that we configured there, that hello, this is a webhook demonstration. If I'll reload this page once again, then after waiting for 5 seconds, I should be getting one more message here. I got it once again. Okay, so this is how basically you can make use of webhooks to notify the user whenever a certain task is completed. Instead of doing that, maybe what you could even do is you could hit an API endpoint, and that API endpoint is going to make changes in the database that could in turn do something in UI. So every sort of thing is possible. Whatever you want to do, you can do that. Okay. So this was one simplest demonstration of webhook that I could do here. I also wanted to show this thing on Replit as well, that how you can make use of terminal multiplexer in order to create multiple terminals and do whatever stuff we have done here there as well. But I guess the time has already exceeded, so maybe we will try doing it in some of the other sessions. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any doubts till now.
If we can extend by 15 minutes.
Sorry?
If we can extend the session by 15-20 minutes and complete that.
Okay, all right. So what would I do is, I'll create a REPL. Of course, you would know that Python won't work, HTML won't work. I need to create a next REPL. Wait. Okay, give me a minute. Let me just get that REPL. I have already stopped sharing. Okay, all right. I have just created a REPL here, a blank one. So if you will look at look at what all dependencies are there. So you would see there is just cow say, but we need many other things like Python, like Redis and Celery and all. So for that, we need to put all of the dependencies here. So for that, maybe this was one of the tutorials that we can follow in order to get those dependencies. Yes, here it is. So I'll just copy this and I'll put it here. Along with that, I'll have one more package that is tmux, right? So that I can use terminal multiplexing and I can create multiple instances of the term, because I will need one for Celery, I'll need one for Redis, and yeah, that's right. Okay, maybe I can share the link of this tutorial as well. So once I'll click on run, this will basically install all of the dependencies for me. So let me click on run. And yeah, it has done that. So now what would I do is I would create one file, let's say called app.py, and one again called task.py. So I'll just copy the code. I'm not going to write it once again. So task.py, this is what the code is. And application.py. Okay. So from Flask, I guess Flask has already been installed, I hope. Yes, it is. And these are all the random things. So that's fine. Okay. So now what we need to do is in this .replit file, I need to change this command so that I can start my Python application when I'll click on this run button. So can someone tell me what command can I use here? So I can simply use python app.py. But for that, I need to start it 0.0.0.0 IP address. So this is done. All right, so I'll go to shell, and what would I do is I would open tmux here. Tmux command not installed, was located via nix. Okay, I guess it is installed. Let me just anyways. So yeah, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start the Redis server. So Redis server. So it has started Redis server here. Now I need to open one more terminal. So for that, I would open one more. And here, what I would do is I would start my Celery. So Celery -a is going to be tasks dot cel worker and just the info level. Okay, so http lib2 is not installed. Okay, I hope it is installed now. So I should run this command once again. It's still saying it's not installed. I'll start everything once again from the start. Okay. So I hope everything must have been installed by now. So Tmux, I would install Redis server here. Redis server is installed. I would create a new terminal and will start my salary. So the salary terminal is also loaded up. Is there anything else that we need here? Okay, so we are able to see that this job ID and this result has come here, and we should be able to see one more message coming into the chat space. So there are basically 3 messages because we tried, running that application twice before. So one time is for this time, or one message is for this time, and 2 messages were from the previous one that were in the queue, but they were not processed because service system was not initiated in order to handle this. If I'll just click on refresh, so this result will be refreshed after 5 seconds, and I should be getting one more message here after 5 seconds. So it says task is still in progress twice, and after that it gives me this message back that the task has been completed. So what I have done is I have not basically written any code here on Replit. I have just copy pasted the code from what I had written in the VS Code. That's it. Again, for this HTTP lib 2, it's not mandatory for you to use the same library that they have suggested. You can even use request, and you can just read the format that you have to make a post request to this URL, and you can append these headers, and this is how you need to pass on the body. So the same thing can be done with the help of request library as well in Python. All right, so is there any doubt here? Any doubt in whatever we did so far?
So how do we create multiple terminal?
How do we create? Using Tmux. That's where we are using Tmux.
Yes, in shell we did one tmux to create one terminal. Then how to create second one?
Okay. So I was basically pressing some keys from keyboard. Okay, so that's why you are not aware. What you need to do is you need to use a prefix. So by default, what happens is the prefix is basically control plus B for ball. So you need to press these 2 keys. Now, if you want to create a new terminal, you can press C. You have to first press control plus B, leave those keys and press C. So this is going to create a new terminal for you. If you want to navigate between terminals, so let's say right now I am on the salary terminal. I know that I started Redis server in the previous terminal. So if I want to navigate back, what I need to do is I again need to press control plus B and press P. Using that, I would be able to navigate back to my previous terminal. If I want to navigate to the next, then I would again press control B. That is going to be the prefix and going to remain same for each of the commands. Control plus B, I would press N. Sorry, I guess I stopped it. Anyways, it's okay. Control plus B, N. I don't know if it is normal shell or what. Let me check if it is the normal shell. Okay, yeah. So let me just write these commands in the chat for you. It would be difficult for you to understand because I'm pressing those keys from the keyboard. So control plus B is going to be your prefix. So prefix plus N is what is going to create a new terminal. Sorry, control plus, prefix plus C. Similarly, prefix plus N is going to navigate to next terminal. Prefix plus P is going to navigate to the previous terminal. Okay, that is prefix. Please ignore the typo, X and C. Apart from that, what you can use is maybe prefix plus ampersand. This is used to kill a terminal. Is there anything else that I can remember? Okay. Prefix plus double quotes that you can use in order to, sorry, not double quotes, W, in order to list all of the terminals. I think, yeah, these are sufficient for you to use. You can even work with panes. That means you can create horizontal panes and vertical panes, but I guess you can, for now, work with these commands. These are sufficient enough.
Thank you.
Please take care of those typos. I have mistyped X as C at certain places, so please take care of those. Okay, I'll just stop this. All right, so may I know if there are any questions? Okay. Shall I assume that there are no more questions?
No doubt, sir.
Right. All right, I'll stop sharing my screen. Okay, I hope you would have gotten an idea that how salary systems work, how you can integrate them with your Flask application, how you can even use them on things like Replit. But again, we will highly recommend you to install WSL or whatever dependencies are required in your local machines, because it is very important for your project demonstration point of view as well. As you yourself see that when we were trying it on Replit, there was basically some problem that it was keep, that spinner was keep moving. It was not stopping, and there might be some issues while doing it on Replit, and it is even really hard to manage because we can't really see that what all logs have been reported on the terminal. You will have to switch back and do such kind of navigations all the times. That's why.
So just one doubt. Sir, are we going to see this salary with one of the application?
Are we going to
see this salary class interaction with one of the app that we have implemented in JavaScript view?
I didn't get it. What are you saying?
Like you show with the class salary, the communication, we have to use it in project as well, no?
Yes, of course. That is required. That is a core feature.
Yes. So that is what, how to use this salary with some app.
Yes. So, for example, in your project, you are supposed to send daily reminders or monthly reminders to the users of your applications. That is to be done using Salary. Yes. So that would require the use of cron tab.
Notification part.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So the salary part is really important even from your project point of view. If you have any doubts, so please come back to us.
Sure, sir.
Okay, I guess you would have gotten a basic idea how these systems work. And of course, since we have also seen a small demonstration of how webhooks can be used, you can even use a similar kind of setup in order to send daily reminders, at least, if not monthly reports, because that would require you to generate a report first and send it over email or whatever it is. All right, so thank you all for joining in this session. I guess that's a good time to close this session then. So have a good night. And bye-bye.
Good night, sir. Thank you, sir.